Welcome to the Compact Lens, a podcast by Social Compact. I'm Shreya,
And I'm Gautam.
and we are very excited for this second episode, bringing to you our grounded insights from engagements with over 65 companies. As the voice of SOCO, the Compact Lens bridges boardroom intent and shop floor realities, stories of transformation and worker-centered lens that advances dignified and inclusive growth.
Okay, I'll start off. So I've worked with various organizations and various different kinds of vulnerable communities. This is urban poor, under trial prisoners. It's women in the rural areas. So a lot of the common factor among them is that they all work in the informal space. Any income that they receive is from the informal space, and that becomes an issue because the core reason for them to still stay vulnerable or poor is that the amount of money that they get is not enough, and not just that, they don't have a safety net also in place. So this becomes a problem, and that is why I also joined Social Compact, to understand how this can be addressed at a larger scale. So the kind of work that we do here is a lot, I think, with respect to the vastness of it, it's a broad nature of the work, not just with companies. We also look at the various research that happens around the globe, the developments that happen around the globe. Given that ESG, the S part of ESG is also what we do. There's a lot of laws that come up in various parts of the globe. So that's very interesting for me to work in this, and that's one of the motivations also for me to work here. And it keeps me going also, the kind of difference in work, the vastness of it.
Just like you, during my masters, I came across this fact, and it totally took me by shock that 94% of our workforce is informal. And for me to really grasp that, fortunately, I also got a lot of experience working very closely with informal workers. So for me, since then, I've just kind of stuck with informal workers. Initially, also because I find it very interesting. Initially, I was working with grassroots informal workers. These are the ones that we see in our daily lives. They can be domestic helps, home-based workers, construction workers, or rack pickers even. And back then the work was more around helping them develop capacities and understanding what their rights and entitlements are so that they can seek them. And right now at Social Compact, it's a little bit different. Still working with informal workers. These are blue-collar informal workers that work on factory floors. So the change for me has been that at Social Compact, it's not just the workers, but I get to work with the systems as well. So it's like peeling off one layer at a time. So we go and we speak with the workers, then we try and understand what the systems are in the company. We speak with the management and the leadership and find out where the challenge really lies, and also have this kind of co-solutioning with different stakeholders to understand what can be those systems in which informal workers can be helped.
So for those of us listening to us for the first time, I'll just give an intro of Social Compact. The Social Compact works with companies to improve the dignity and equity of workers and the worker practices at a company. So at the core of it is the Social Compact worker welfare tool. So this tool can be divided into 6 outcome areas. So these are wages, gender, safety, future of work, access to entitlement, and grievance redressal. So these are the various outcome areas, and under each of these outcome areas we have indicators. So the indicators can also be classified into a compliance indicator or a good to have indicator. To give an example, under wages we have a payslip. I think every person who works at a company, they get a payslip. So payslip is something that is mandated by the law. So that becomes a compliance indicator. And to give another example, under wages itself, an appointment letter. An appointment letter today under the laws is not a mandate. So that is something that we ask companies to give as a good measure. Because at the end of the day, for a worker to realize what are the various benefits that they are entitled to, what are the various deductions that they have, and what are the kind of safety nets that they have, So for them to know all of this, they require an appointment letter. Not just an appointment letter, ideally the appointment letter should also be in their native language for them to understand. So these are like some things we tell companies to have. So this is a good to have. Yeah, I think this is a very good headway to start into today's topic. So in today's topic, we are going to talk about why companies approach us, or like why companies approach social compact. To start off with that, we can like maybe talk about COVID-19. Like I think in the last episode also we talked about this, like how during the pandemic, workers were like walking to their hometowns, and this like gave a lot of like coverage to this, and that is also why like our work started on this area. And another example is of Rana Plaza, which also was mentioned in the last episode. So when the incident happened, the Rana Plaza incident where like the fire occurred, a lot of companies globally took notice to like improve the worker practices. So this is what we normally observe. Like companies wait till an incident, a crisis, a jolt to happen for them to like take action or even to like come to social compact, because then they realize that just by working in that narrow area they cannot like improve upon the whole thing. They'll have to look at it in a holistic lens. So that is why they come to us.
So, yeah, I mean, you're totally right about that. I feel like what we can say is that these are reactive measures that companies take, that something has happened, an incident has happened, or a shock has happened, and they're down to fixing it and um, looking at systems or ways in which they can make informal workers or practices around them better. So one example that comes to mind is during pandemic. You were speaking about it earlier, Gautam, and that's when a manufacturing company in energy space had approached us, and they wanted to like they were asking key questions around who these informal workers are, where are they situated in their whole setup, in the whole manufacturing space, and they had approached us for that. They were quite surprised with the findings because they realized that the layers and layers of informality that existed is something that some of it was something that they were not aware of. So that took them by shock, and then they really appreciated the fact that they were able to hear the worker voice, which means that when we go to the companies, we speak with the workers, we also present case studies to the companies about workers, and help them understand what the reality the worker is facing, what is the challenge. Like you mentioned about different compliance indicators and good to have indicators, that sometimes what can these particular indicators like appointment letter can have an impact on that worker's life. So they really appreciated that.
Interesting. Okay. So even I would actually like add like some examples. So one example is of a company like which recently had like a major incident at their factory. So they had a workplace accident which led to the death of like almost 14 workers.
Okay,
So
that's huge.
yeah, that is huge. And they came to social compact after that. So that is actually when they realized that they need to like work on it, not just on the safety of the equipments. They need to work on safety of workers and worker practices in general, because just by working on safety aspects at the workplace does not actually help the company in the long term, because the workers need to be very aware of what are the safety aspects and what are the various accidents that could happen, what is the like kind of trends that are happening. So these all help the workers in like approaching it better. So that is also why they came to social compact and like worked on it with us. So we are yet to work with the company, but hopefully we start working with them soon. One other example of a reactive measure we've seen with the company is like a company it's a manufacturing company. So we had already visited them. So at the site, we realized that the company was offering like a good salary or like a good wage to the workers, but it is more of a reactive measure that they took. So what happened is that their competitors in the same area started offering better wages and started giving growth opportunities. So that is when this company reacted to it, and they also started doing the same. they gave better opportunities so that the workers can join them and hope to have a growth from an associate to a technical associate to becoming a supervisor. Not just that, they also had to give better wages. So these are like reactive measures that company took and which actually help them also. Now they don't face the kind of attrition that they faced earlier when they did not offer these two benefits.
That's quite interesting. And it's not just companies that are coming to social compact who are facing this crisis, but we keep hearing about this in news as well. Like has been in the news for a while. Thousand of their workers went on strike for 37 days, and that is when took up a reactive measure. They said they wanted to work with these union workers, and that led to them coming up with a mutual agreement where first they recognized the union. That was the key demand that the union had presented, and then later on, they also came up with an agreement to improve the wages and the working conditions at factories. And another example that comes to mind is of so in UK, what had happened is that the drivers had approached the Supreme Court saying that they wanted to be recognized as employees. This ruling actually resulted in their favor, and it guaranteed living wages for drivers because it went on for a while with different demands the driver has.
That's interesting. Maybe I can just also add like so what happened is that the women workers who worked in shops, retail shops as saleswomen, they were forced to stand during the whole duration of their work hour. So this would be like 8 to 10 hours in a day. And even while like customers were not in the shop, they were still asked to stand. So this became an issue, and they did like approach their employers, telling them that this is causing them like pain and also like long-term health issues. But the employers did not react in a good way. They said that it is mandatory for you to do it. So that is when like they started protesting. There's also like media coverage. There's also like a social media backlash of the whole thing. And then even the NHRC, the National Human Rights Commission, also took notice. But even then, like the employers did not budge. Like few employers did. Like they said that you can do it. So that is when the government had to step in. So I think in 2018, the government came up with the ordinance to amend the Kerala Shops and Establishment Act to mandate that every employer has to provide a seating arrangement for the workers so that they can rest during workday also.
That's actually Gautam. We were at one of the companies for a meeting, and I saw that. So you had approached the cafeteria worker there, and I remember having that conversation with them. That how long do they stand? Because you observed that the worker didn't have a place to sit. So that conversation led to even the worker understanding that, yeah, well, I'm standing for 8 to 10 hours and I don't have a place to sit. And then I remember you telling her about this campaign.
Even in that incident, I think it is because of reading about this protest. I think for a layman to just like walk around, even if they are like very socially aware and they are like working in workers' rights, if a person is standing at the sales counter, they don't realize that this person has been like standing for a long duration. It's not like something that comes into your mind. And even I noticed at the company that we had visited because of this same reason that I had read about probably recently. And that is when I realized that even in that company, that same worker I interacted with was asked to like sit or stand for like 8 to 10 hours. Yeah.
So we've already covered legal battles, social media backlash, strikes. But what do you think? Is that always how companies approach it? Like we've also seen examples where companies have proactively tried to address a challenge where they have been conscious enough or preemptive enough and come to us and said that we identify this as an issue and we want to work on it.
Yes. To start off with, I think with the number of examples we've given, all of it being like reactive measures that companies have taken, it should be like very evident for companies that like waiting for like an incident to happen is not the best way to go forward. So starting off, like I think I can give an example. So in Gujarat, the textile hub is like Surat. So in Surat, they have a lot of power loom units. So these are like small time units. Like one person would have like a unit which has like probably 20, 30 power looms, like very small unit. And there are workers, and these workers are in charge of operating like 15, 10 to 15 like power looms. And if you go there, it is very noisy. These are like very small cramped up buildings inside of which there are so many machines which like make very high decibel sounds, which do like impact the workers in the long term. And here also they work on like 12 hours, and on the long run they do face a lot of issues. And given that these are like not just exhaustive conditions, these are like dangerous conditions, because with a smaller space they have to move around, and these are huge machines which are heavy, and they also have a lot of moving parts. The one moving part I want to highlight is a shuttle. A shuttle is like one object which moves very fast to and fro, that actually like takes the thread through the cloth or like the fabric. So that shuttle is very heavy. Not just being heavy, it also has like very sharp ends. And these shuttle, if they come out of the machine, it becomes a projectile which can like go hit a person, and that is like going to be like a very serious injury. And this is one of the major reasons for the accidents that happen in Surat. And this can be avoided. And that is also where I want to highlight the work of Ajivika Bureau, which is one of our partner NGOs. So what they do is that they work with the powerloom workers to, not just the powerloom workers, the owners also. So they work with the powerloom workers to understand what the issues, and they work with the owners to understand like why they're not like installing any safety features. So they start incentivizing and providing awareness about what can be installed. So one thing that they install is a safety light. A safety light actually blinks when there's like a defect in the cloth, and that is also a reason why a shuttle actually comes out when there's like a small defect in the cloth or the fabric. So now they actually know it beforehand. They have that blink and it stops automatically, it shuts down. So they avoid a lot of accidents. So this is a proactive measure that a lot of small time owners have taken. So just to like maybe expand on what proactive measures are, like these are like measures that a company takes by anticipating the kind of problems that may arise, or like the incidents or like a problems that may arise in the future, and build systems to prevent these issues before they happen. So these can be like various measures, like proper implementation, a strategy also can also count.
I think you're absolutely right. It's not always that a worker might know or might be aware to go on a strike and take up certain issue, or it may not be that something might get covered in social media for that issue to be finally resolved. So I think it makes a lot of sense for companies to take up a proactive approach. But again, like we've always seen, it's not always that a company has proactive measure or it always has a reactive measure. A lot of times what we see is that it's a little bit of both, because we have these 6 outcome areas that we work with, and it's not that for every outcome area the company might have a reactive stance or a proactive stance. So I feel like you can cover, if you can think of any example which has a little bit of both, then that'll be great to hear.
Yes. So I think one example I would definitely want to cover, like how you mentioned, like a lot of companies do both. So it is reactive measure and they do something proactively also. So like maybe for like a wages thing, if they realize that the payslip needs to be given, they'll just like probably give an additional thing also. But that still does not cover it. So one example of a company that we currently are working with is that they're a very big company with pan-India presence, with a lot of sites also in India. So what they had done till they engaged with us was that when there's a small problem or like an issue that arises at their sites, they just address it there. So that is very short-term measure that they do. So this is an industry where like they anticipate like a 10x growth in the next few years.
Oh,
So yeah.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So that is why they realize that if they keep on doing this, it's not sustainable. They need to look at it at a very holistic way. So that is when they came to social compact to like have a proper policy document which can look at all the 6 outcome areas that we work with, and also like additional outcome areas that is specific to them. So this document would act as a guidebook or a handbook for their IR and HR personnels when an incident occurs, for them to like address it. So this will not just be like a guidebook, it will also be a strategy document, because given the kind of growth and with the like with AI and everything coming, there's also like the change in the nature of workers. The nature of work is going to change. So this document also covers that. So this is an example, like to like addressing like small reactive measures, to like going to a proactive measure of like having a very comprehensive document which looks at workers' practice at a broader level.
I think that's like a deep fry into the realities of their worker, and it's really commendable. Company this size trying to take this step. I think it just makes sense to do it because it's good business sense to go ahead and have this sort of a mapping. And we're speaking about literally almost all of the workforce in India. So I feel that we've been able to cover a lot of examples. We've also been able to give a glimpse of what kind of outcome areas we work at Social Compact. We are at this unique position where we are hearing from all of these different stakeholders, whether these are company leadership, mid management, factory floor management, then there are contractors, there are workers themselves, so which could include migrant workers, contractual workers, and not just that, but we also work closely with a lot of these CSOs that are working in this space. So I feel like we hear all of these different perspectives, and over the years we've been able to really bring in insights that are powerful and that have helped companies. While we're speaking about social compact, I think one other thing to say is that we don't give out certifications. So I think that's what our next episode is going to be about, which is that how can we go beyond certification and create truly worker focused practices.
Stay tuned, and we hope that you join for the next episode also.